Hello BookTube, my name is Valerie, and today I'm going to be talking about the books I am most excited to read in 2017. They'll probably change by next month, but we're going to talk about these anyway, so here we go. So the first books that I am looking forward to reading in 2017 are the second through seventh books in the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, or at least the first two or three. I read The Gunslinger in October of last year, and I enjoyed it, but I've heard that it's not the best of the books, and so I'm definitely looking forward to reading more of the other books in the series. One of the reasons that I was interested in reading the series in the first place is that I heard that the writers of Lost, which I'm a huge fan of, had taken a lot of inspiration from those books. So that was the initial reason that I wanted to read them, and because I kept hearing that Stephen King was a fantastic writer. So I'm going to hopefully be continuing with that series in 2017. The next book that I am most looking forward to reading this year is Sabriel by Garth Nix. My friend Jill highly recommended this book to me last year, actually has been recommending it to me for a while, but she recommended it to me on camera last year, which you can watch that video right here, where she recommended it. So I'm looking forward to reading this since I've been wanting to read this series forever, and I think that they've just recently come out with a fourth book in the series, so hopefully I will get to this one soon. The next books I'm looking forward to reading are basically any books in Spanish. I have a master's degree in Spanish, but I don't really get to use it in my job, so I sometimes worry about losing it. So because of that, I want to start reading more books in Spanish. One I've been wanting to read forever is this book called El Coronel no tiene quien le escriba, which means the colonel doesn't have anyone who writes to him. And as you can see, I'm a decent way into it, but it's less than 100 pages. It's like 99 pages. And I've been reading it off and on for like 2 years. Like I'll pick it up and I've read the first 2 chapters like 4 times. So I'm gonna finish this year. It's happening. Like I keep going back to this one because it's by far the shortest Spanish book I have, so I figure, okay, I can at least read this, but apparently not. So that's kind of the top priority for Spanish books. And then after that is El Juego del Ángel by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, The Angel's Game. This is the second in a trilogy, or actually I think they're coming out with a 4th book soon, and I'm really excited about it. The first book in this series is easily my favorite book in Spanish that I've read. It's called The Shadow of the Wind in English, and if you haven't read it, you should read it because it's great. But I read it like in 2013, and then have just been like too overwhelmed to read this because it's quite long, which The Shadow of the Wind is too, but it's a bit of an undertaking. So that's kind of my goal, is to read more Spanish books this year so that I can make sure that I don't lose it. Okay, other books that I'm looking forward to this year. So I have been reading the Amelia Peabody series off and on since I was in high school. There's 19 books in the series, and when I was in high school I got up to like 10 or 11 and then stopped reading them. And then a few years ago I decided that I wanted to go ahead and read all of them, but it'd been so long since I read them that I just started over from the beginning. So I now only have 4 books left, and I have them all. So I have no excuse to not finish this series. If you haven't read these, they're really fun. They can get a bit repetitive, which is part of the reason I haven't finished these, but I want to just go ahead and finish the series because there are a lot of things that I like about them. The series follows an archaeologist named Amelia Peabody and her family who have adventures in Egypt and always end up getting into trouble and mysteries. They're a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward to finishing those, although it'll be kind of sad when I finish the last one to not have any more, because unfortunately Elizabeth Peters, the author, passed away a few years ago. I'm also looking forward this year to reading Interpreter of Maladies by Jhumpa Lahiri. This is a book of short stories. I believe it's about immigrants to the U.S. And yeah. And so I'm very much looking forward to reading this. It's pretty short, so it also shouldn't take me very long to finish. I've been looking forward to reading this for a long time. I keep hearing awesome things about Robin Hobb and her fantasy novels, but again, they're a bit of an undertaking. So I have this one, and then I also have Assassin's Apprentice on ebook. I haven't decided which one I'm going to start with yet. I think I read like the first couple chapters of Assassin's Apprentice once a while ago, but just never finished it. So not sure which one I'll start with, but I'm looking forward to that as well. Another book that I recently discovered, I think it had been on my list of books that I discovered through BookTube that I wanted to read, but I hadn't really, it wasn't near the top of my list. I just had it on there. I was like, oh, that sounds neat. And then I saw a movie adaptation of one of the short stories in the book, which of course was Arrival. And I loved it. If you haven't seen Arrival, I highly recommend it. It can be a bit of a slow movie. I had a couple people I know who either were bored by it or didn't understand it, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Especially being a language nerd like I am, and the main character, played by Amy Adams, being a linguist. I thought that was awesome. So in the movie, and I assume in the short story as well, there's a woman who's a linguist, and all over the world, these spaceships presumably have landed. I think there's 12 in total, and they're trying to communicate, or humans are trying to communicate with the aliens on board the ship, but obviously they don't speak the same language, and so the one that's in the US, I think it was in Montana, they hire a linguist, played by Amy Adams in the movie, to go and try and figure out the aliens' language. So there's a lot more to it than that, and it's really good. So I loved it so much that I am so on board to read the rest of the short stories in this book. It's called Stories of Your Life by Ted Chang. And actually Stories of Your Life was the original title of Arrival, the short story version. So I cannot wait to read that because I'm sure that, you know, if Arrival or Stories of Your Life is any indication, then the other stories will be fantastic as well. I'm also looking forward to reading Purple Hibiscus because I have been wanting to read a book by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie forever. And I started reading Purple Hibiscus one time. I got it from the library, and then it was one of those situations where it was overdue and I didn't have time to finish it, so I ended up having to take it back. So I bought it on ebook finally, and I'm gonna read it. So because I want to read that and I want to read her other books, but Americana seems kind of long, so I wanted to start with a shorter one just to get an idea of her writing first. So I'm gonna read that. Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick is another one that I'm super excited to read. It's like an alternate universe, or alternate history, I guess, timeline where Germany won World War II, and how that might have affected the future at that point. They've made a Hulu series or an Amazon series, I think, of that, and so I'm excited to read the book and then maybe watch the series and kind of see how they're different. Kind of in a similar vein to Stories of Your Life by Ted Chang, I also want to read this book that I found randomly on Amazon called The Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu. It's another short story science fiction collection, and I wanted to read a sample of it to see if it was something I would be interested in, and so I read the sample that they had on Amazon, which was like the first short story basically, and it was so interesting. It wasn't even so much a story as a description of these different made-up aliens and how they communicate, and it was just completely wild and fantastical and creative. Like some of the aliens like communicated by music or like through engravings that they then like traced. Like it was just completely off the wall. So I bought it, and the cover is really cool too. I'm gonna insert a picture of it here. I just love the little, I don't know, just like it's very simple with just the tiger on the front. I'm not sure where the tiger comes into it, but I'm excited to read that one very much. These last two are also ones I don't own. They are The Geek Feminist Revolution by Cameron Hurley. I literally know nothing about it other than that it's called The Geek Feminist Revolution. It's nonfiction, and I'm a geek feminist, so obviously I'm gonna read that. And then the other one is The Woman in Cabin 10, which I don't really know a whole lot about that one either, except that it is a mystery and it's supposed to be kind of Gone Girl, Girl on the Train kind of thing. So the cover looks really cool, and I love mysteries, and I think I even saw it kind of compared to Agatha Christie a little bit, which obviously I am okay with. So that's kind of the highlights of the books that I'm looking forward to reading in 2017. There's a lot of them. Again, I made a video the other day about finding time to read. So if you have any suggestions, again, for finding time to read, leave those in the comments, and I would love to hear those because I have a lot of books I want to read. I'm just really excited to, like I said in that other video, just find more time to read and participate in hobbies that I genuinely enjoy. Again, I hope that 2017 is treating you well so far. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if there's any that maybe you think I should read first that are particularly good. Let me know if there's any books that you're particularly looking forward to reading in 2017 as well. Until next time, I hope you have a fantastic day.